We continue to follow the arraignment of former President Donald Trump. You're taking a look at video here of his plane landing back in Newark, New Jersey after his arraignment in Washington, D.C. earlier today. The former president pleaded not guilty to 4 counts in federal court today. For more on the indictment and what comes next, we're being joined now by legal analyst Kelly Hyman. Kelly, thanks so much for joining us here. Let's first just start with your thoughts on the case that's been laid out against Trump by the special counsel.
So first off, we have to go, what is an indictment? So an indictment means that the grand jury, based on the evidence presented to them, believe that he should be charged with a serious crime. In the court of law, you are innocent till proven guilty. So it's up to the state, the Department of Justice, to prove every single element of the crime. What are the counts in this case? There are 4. There's conspire to defraud the United States, conspire to obstruct an official proceeding, obstruction of an official proceeding, and conspiracy against rights. In regards to the time that he could potentially serve for conspiracy to defraud the United States, the maximum sentence is 5 years. Conspiring to obstruct an official proceeding, maximum sentence is 20 years. Obstruction of an official proceeding is 20 years, and conspiring against the rights, maximum 10 years. So this hearing was for him to plead, and he pled not guilty. There is going to be another hearing at the end of the month, and at that point, from what we understand, that is when the judge will set the trial date. They've asked for the state to give trial dates, and then 7 days after that for the defendant to state dates for a trial.
Sure. Well, you just touched on my next question, which is what happens at that next August 28th court date. But you explained it very well there, Kelly. So Trump has been vocal both in person and online about this indictment. If you were representing the former president, would you advise him to continue to speak out, or would you tell him to try to quiet it down for the next few weeks?
Well, we have to think about it from the legal standpoint. His words and what he says can be used in the court of law. However, this case is played out not only in the court of law, but out in the court of the people. His attorneys have already gone on TV laying out their defense and laying out their cases. But Donald Trump, since he's on the campaign trail, will most likely talk about the trial and what's going to happen. But usually in these types of cases, you don't want your client talking because it could potentially harm them at the trial.
Right. And what about campaign events, debates? There's obviously a lot to do when running for president of the United States. Could Trump be limited in what he says at some of those events as a presidential candidate?
Well, I think that his attorneys could potentially advise him not to talk about this trial, right? Because there's serious ramifications because of it. But Trump is a human being, and most likely if he will talk about it and discuss it. It'll be very interesting to see if he sees Pence at one of these debates and how their interaction is going to be, because as we know, Pence had notes during this time, and those notes were potentially used in the indictment to potentially lay out the case.
Yeah, that will be interesting indeed. And the Department of Justice is charging Trump, as we talked about, with election interference over his efforts to overturn the 2020 election and, of course, what happened on January 6th. But Trump's campaign is also claiming election interference. So how do you think this plays out, considering that?
Right. Well, that's what's so great about our court system, that the jury will hear all this evidence and hear the case, and that based on the evidence that's presented to them, they are the ones that's going to make the ultimate decision of whether he's guilty or not. And I think that's key. But as I stated before, under the court of law, a person is innocent till they are proven guilty. So that, I think that's key, because the state Department of Justice brought the case against him, and they need to prove each element of the crime.
Yeah, and Kelly, thank you again for joining us here. Are we missing any final thoughts that you'd like to add? It's been a very busy day, so we appreciate you coming on to help break it all down for us.
Absolutely. It's great to see you. I think the next hearing is going to be key because that's going to be when the judge sets the trial date, and that is going to be key. There was a recent poll that came out that said no matter if you're Republican or Democrat or independent, a majority of the people felt that the cases should go to trial before the election. We're going to have to see how that plays out.
Yes, exactly. August 28th, again, is that next court date. Kelly Hyman, thank you so much for joining us here. Great to see you.
You as well. Have a wonderful day.
You too. Thanks so much.